If you know something about me, then you know I'm a huge fan of a balanced gaming diet. I'm talking of course about ultra hard boss fights, dope roguelite elements, and cute ass bunnies. Welcome to Rabbit and Steel. Rabbit and Steel is a co-op boss rush game with roguelite elements. The boss mechanics are inspired by raid bosses from MMOs, while the gameplay borrows from bullet hells and action RPGs. That was a handful, but it essentially boils down to you select a cute-ass bunny character and face extremely hard boss fights either solo or with up to 4 players, trying to dodge their myriad attacks while fighting back in a hopefully coordinated and elegant dance. Each character has a suite of moves that share the same structure, 3 attacks and 1 defensive move. But each kit is completely different from each other and requires you to focus on completely different aspects when trying to master it. Some characters play very linearly and allow you to customize them in such a way that their attacks seamlessly chain together like clockwork in a predictable and repeatable fashion. This would be something like the Heavy Blade. Very simply, you have a primary attack that can be used without restrictions, a special that deals heavy damage on a long cooldown, and a secondary that empowers your next primary and special. So your game plan is as simple as 1, 2, 3, chain the secondary into a special, into a primary, and then spam primary attacks while the special comes off of cooldown, rinse and repeat. Other characters are all about frantically reacting to random triggers that will influence what your next move should be, like the Assassin. In her case, the defensive move is but a misnomer, as once used will increase the damage of your next attack. This pairs well with her special that deals heavy damage and is buffed further when hitting enemies on the back, but is on a long cooldown. Her primary attack then has a 15% chance to restore the use of her defensive, and her secondary will guarantee that you get it back if the cooldown is low enough. So here you're basically juggling 5 balls at once and they're all on fire. You'll want to open up with your defensive, relocating to the back of the enemy to unleash a powerful special attack. Then it's all about spamming the primary in the hopes of getting a lucky proc and getting the defensive back. However, if that doesn't happen, eventually you need to throw in the use of the secondary to guarantee the effect. Conversely, if you're too lucky too many times in a row, you might get your defensive back while your special is still not available, so you need to wait a bit for that. Then, other characters have more involved combos that if used improperly will essentially cut your damage in half, like the Spell Sword that can grant herself a buff that doubles the effect of all subsequent abilities for a limited number of uses, so management of this buff is the name of the game. And so on. Even with all this said, you might reasonably assume that characters end up feeling too samey from run to run. After all, they only have 4 abilities. But herein comes my favorite thing about this game. The progression system. That's right, not the bosses or the characters themselves, but a progression system. Woo! And that's because I'm a nerd. In essence, every few levels you'll find either a chest that drops random items or a shop where you can upgrade your abilities. With but some exceptions, everything here is made to throw your ability rotation completely out of whack, so that you cannot mechanically play characters the same way every time. You can expect to have your ability cooldowns tweaked all over the place from 2 seconds to 30 seconds, completely change how an ability functions in the first place. You can add new interactions between abilities, and this all informs the order and frequency in which you use them. This is all impactful to the point of allowing you to render yourself basically useless or a literal god that trivializes every fight, albeit these examples are a bit more rare. This all means that you can't go into a run with a specific game plan in mind, and you'll never quite know how your character will actually play until you're in the thick of it, which works wonders in mitigating the game from feeling stale. Now, you might reasonably assume that this is maybe one step too far and runs are just at the whim of the randomness. But nope! Due to another incredible decision. Items exist in different sets. One focuses on applying and amplifying debuffs, another cares about you having long cooldowns on your abilities, another is all about granting powerful effects that get disabled when you use your defensive ability, and etc. As you might expect, not all characters care about debuffs or having long cooldowns. However, each item set only appears in certain chest types, and you'll always see every chest type each run. This guarantees that you'll roughly see items from all sets, so you're bound to find something useful. Okay, Now we can finally get to the other half of this boss rush game, the bosses. Runs will see you go through different areas, each with its own theme both mechanically and thematically. Each area consists of 3 introduction fights that all have 1 or 2 gimmicks max, and a final boss that combines everything up to that point. Avoid this circle, get in this circle, avoid this expanding damage area, parse where the safe area will even be in 5 seconds and position accordingly, you name it. And of course this is all amped up by having cooperative mechanics as well. Everyone get in here, everyone get out of here, stretch this rope, move damage areas away from us. Voice chat can get particularly chaotic, I love it. And despite everything revolving around being in the right place at the right time, each area twists it in its own way and overloads your brain in different ways with information that you need to parse efficiently. You have a boss that teleports you all over the place, so you need to calculate where to stay so that in 3 jumps time you end up in a safe spot. Another one just spews rotating lasers around, so good luck looking at this screen and figuring out where exactly to go. By the way, you have 1 second and you're hit. A boss that forces you to practice social distancing while dodging the entire stock of your neighborhood's light bulb department store. And I thought this was Osu boss, where you're just constantly on the move trying to get to your collar. Never mind, get to the middle, never mind, where are the stars? Oh shit. Seriously, jokes aside, each boss will really push your brain in a very particular direction, and mastering a section just feels out of this world. Climbing up the difficulty levels, of which there are 4, is also a great experience. And that's due to 2 factors. First, you do feel a bump in difficulty immediately. It's a steep increase every time. I mean, just compare these 2 screens. They're the same attack on normal and hard. Not only is there way more stuff to parse, but you also have less leeway in where to position yourself. However, it never feels like you were just thrown into the deep end. The introductory area bosses ease you into the sort of mechanics you will face, and whatever lessons you learned on the previous difficulty will 100% transfer into the new one, with just extra layers added on top. Unfortunately, and it pains me to do this, I must inform you that the game is not perfect. I know. First, it doesn't feel like it's well balanced for anything other than either single player or parties of 4. For single player, the mechanics are obviously adjusted, so the difficulty is comparable if not a bit harder than playing with others. But when you play with 2 or 3 other people, from my understanding, the mechanics don't change, so you're just playing a strictly easier version of the 4-player fights, because there's less to coordinate. Then, the UI is so clunky. Not that there's much UI to be seen in general, but when you do need to interact with it, it never feels great. Like seeing which items you've completed the run with, which is important for a few reasons that I won't go into detail, requires you to open a menu, either know by heart which set the item in question belongs to, or scroll through all of them and then noticing a pip next to it. Why not add this pip next to the item when it appears in a chest? Why not have a filter in the menu? There's a few other examples, but it's not super important, just mildly annoying. No, my biggest criticism, and this truly bummed me out at times, and this might even seem a bit stupid or controversial, I don't know, is that it's entirely possible, if not common, for 1 or 2 players to just carry the entire team by themselves. Usually on raid fight type bosses, I'd expect teamwork to be paramount to success, way above individual prowess. That doesn't really happen here. First of all, team composition isn't super important. You don't even have different roles, there's no tank or support or healer. There are mechanics, a lot of mechanics to be fair, that in theory require everyone to do their part, but most characters have a way or another of blunting the force of others' mistakes, which can be powered up to the point of not really needing the rest of the team much. And even then, deaths don't really mean much. You stay in place for a bit, which granted can fuck a lot of mechanics up as you're still impacting the field, but you can revive as many times as needed. I don't know, maybe I'm an idiot here, but it feels off and counterintuitive in a game of this genre, or at least it should be substantially harder to do so, in my opinion of course. And that's enough for me. If you're looking to put cute-ass bunnies through vicious gauntlets of dexterity and skill, then give Rabbit and Steel a try. See ya!